Hey 100x, hey acceleration. I'm gonna try to make this video outside. We'll see if it gets noisy. Sometimes my air conditioning kicks on and it's super loud. So this is Lori, hello. See who's on here. This is day 10 of my God stories, 10 of 30. And today I wanna talk about, oh, it's gonna be windy. I hope that doesn't mess up the sound. Maybe I'll go inside. Now the wind blows. Okay, what do I do with my life? Hi, Danielle. Hey, hey. What do I want to do with my life? I thought I was really interested in psychology, possibly teaching. Hey, Berlin. And I also was interested in photography, singing, acting, you know, all the cool stuff, but didn't know what God wanted for me. And God ended up calling me to go to YWAM. Hey, Alex. And in YWAM, that's another whole cool story, but in YWAM, I did a 3-month outreach after my DTS. DTS is a discipleship training school. Okay, I'm back. Evidently outside my Wi-Fi doesn't work so great. So I don't know if anybody, oh yeah, one person's still watching. All right, my kids are in here, so it might get a little noisy, hopefully not. All right, so YWAM, Youth with a Mission. I did a discipleship training school, which is 6 months, and then afterwards I spent 3 months doing a post-DTS outreach in Ethiopia. And when I was in Ethiopia, I had this dream one night that I was in this white uniform and sorry, I was getting little messages there. White uniform, had my name tag, and I was over a cot with a little kid on it. And I woke up going, what was that? Hi, Natalie. And, was that a nurse's outfit? Was I taking care of the kid? I didn't know what that was. And I was like, surely God's not calling me to be a nurse, because I did not really care for science at all. And I liked math up until 6th grade. When we hit algebra, did not like math after that, even though my mom's a math teacher, but she wasn't at the time. Hey, Dasha. And so I was pondering that in my heart. God, are you calling me to be a nurse? Because that was nothing I had thought about whatsoever. And over the course of the next couple of days, I had 3 different people in Ethiopia, some orphanage workers, the leader who we were working with, and somebody else, I don't remember who it was, came up to me and said, hey, Laura, you're a nurse, right? I'm like, no, I'm only 19. I'm not a nurse. They're like, oh, well, you're going to be a nurse, right? No, I'm not going to be a nurse. Well, look at this kid's tongue. Why is his tongue black? I have no idea why his tongue is black. I'm not a nurse. I'm not going to be a nurse. But by that third person, I've learned, by that point, I had learned enough with God. When he's persistent like that, I need to pay attention to it. So I prayed about it. I'm like, God, are you calling me to be a nurse? I guess maybe you are. And I had enough faith and trust in him to just follow him, even though I didn't feel that strong urging to be a nurse. And I wrote my best friend, and she wrote me at the same time. Now, back then, there's no email, there's no instant messaging, there's no cell phones. This is the dark ages, as my kids call it. Sorry, I'm bonking the camera here. So when I wrote a letter from Ethiopia and they wrote a letter, it took almost a month to get me. So our letters crossed in the mail, and she got my letter about the same time I got her letter, and her letter said the same thing. I feel like God is calling me to be a nurse, which was hilarious because she was deathly afraid. She would vomit if you talked about bloodshot or snakes. I thought, how the heck are you going to be a nurse? But she did. She became a wonderful nurse. So I came back from Ethiopia and went to Liberty University, and I rebelled for about 6 months, and I was a music major. But then I finally followed what I really felt like God had put in my heart, which was to be a nurse. Now, why am I telling you about that dream and him calling to be a nurse? I never understood it, but I have been so thankful, and I have prayed and thanked God so many times that he called me into a profession that is flexible, that I can work a few days a week, exhausting few days, but I can work a few days a week and be home with my kids. As my kids were growing up, I could work varying different shifts, and it was very flexible, and it was wonderful for being able to be a mom and still be able to do something with my life and pour into people. And I realized I really am a servant. I love to serve people, take care of people, and I found my passion, which is with moms. I love moms. I love taking care of moms, either physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Everything I do revolves around motherhood and moms. And so that was amazing in and of itself. But here's the kicker too. So I went through a separation and divorce the last few years, and I had been a stay-at-home mom for a while, doing some homeschooling with the kids, or with one kid. And when I was going through my separation, I needed to go back to work. And the cool thing about nursing is I could go back to work, and I would have a good job that paid really well. And we were watching a movie about a year ago, my kids and I, and in the movie, the mom had several kids. She was working 2 jobs, plus going to night school to try to be a nurse. She was a single mom, trying to make ends meet, struggling. And the Lord just really impressed it on my heart, that I prepared you ahead of time for what I knew what was coming. That he knew what I would go through. He knew I would need a good job. He knew I would need to be able to provide for myself. And he had prepared that ahead of time, calling me into nursing when I was like, why the heck would you want me to be a nurse? And it just blessed my heart that he could see that far in advance and know what I needed. And by me being obedient to what I didn't quite understand, opened up that door for that blessing. And so I just want to encourage you guys today, just like Pedro, says about 100X and how God kind of tricked him into that, like he's like, hey, how about you do this 30 days of teaching? And he tricked him into this whole thing that now has really caused him to come alive and caused him to just be such a blessing to so many people and help be encourage us into who we are and seeing us launch and be that Papa P, that daddy to all of us as we are launching and we're trying to be who God created us to be and to minister to who God specifically created us to be. So I just want to encourage you that if you really sense God nudging you towards something, it might be small, it might be big. Even if you don't see the long term, God sees it and he knows it. And this was also encouraging to me in going through a separation and divorce, that one of my friends said something, because God had shown me a vision of kind of what was to come, not specifically, but just like a general vision. Like there's a amusement park near me called Busch Gardens, and they have roller coasters, of course, but they have this one ride called Mock Tower, which takes you all the way up. You're sitting in a seat, and then it just drops you. And we had gone through a rough season in our marriage, and God had restored us. That's a whole nother God story. And then God said, all right, you're done with that roller coaster you've been on, but there's a new ride coming. And I'm like, good, this will be a good ride. I love rides. This will be a good one this time. Not that horrible roller coaster. He said, well, that ride at Busch Gardens that takes you all the way up and drops you? That's the ride you're going to be on. And I was like, what? What does that mean? That sounds terrible. And he would not tell me more. And that is exactly what happened about a year later in my marriage. I was just at the peak. I was excited. I was happy. I was feeling fulfilled and connected and all these different things with the ministry we were doing and the marriage ministry. And then a bomb was dropped upon me. And a tsunami came and wiped my island. And now I had to figure out, do I rebuild or do I move on or what do I do? And one of my friends said, if God showed you that vision over a year before it happened, it means that this wasn't a surprise to him. It's not a surprise. And if this isn't a surprise, then your future isn't a surprise. And that he knows what you've got going on in your future. He knows if he says there's good things at the other side of this dark forest, he knows there are good things and you can trust him. You can trust him in the midst of that darkness. So anyways, I'm going to get to preaching because I'm a pastor's daughter and I can preach. I got it in me. My mom always jokes that she talks in sentences and me and my dad talk in chapters or paragraphs or chapters or books. And we do. We get going. We get so excited. So anyways, my story today is God guides. He knows the future. He's omniscient. If he's calling you to do something, step out in faith, even though if you don't quite totally understand it, and you will see the puzzle pieces fall into place, hopefully sooner rather than later, but sometimes not. There's even biblical precedents that some people never saw, everything that God had promised and fulfilled for their ancestors and generations to come. So, all right. Love you guys. Dasha, Danielle, Natalie, everybody who was on, and hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. And I will talk to you again tomorrow for day 11 of God Stories. All right. Take care. Bye.